Good afternoon. Welcome to the Broken to Brave channel. My name is Sherry, and here we talk about all the circumstances in life where you may have felt extremely broken, like you wanted to quit and curl up into a little corner and not carry on, but you made the choice either because you had to or because you just made the choice to get up and be brave and do the right thing. And sometimes it wasn't with the greatest bravado, sometimes it's just with a quiet confidence that you do it with one leg, standing and your legs are shaking and your palms are sweaty and you can barely breathe, but you choose to keep moving forward. You choose to keep doing the things that you need to do. Statistically speaking, I should not be where I am today. Today I am a person who's had a career for 33 years. I've been a nurse. I have grandchildren. I've traveled the world. I've been to many really cool places, met some amazing people, done some amazing things. But if you look back historically over my life and where I began, you would not consider me to be where I am today. I grew up in a very poor household with a schizophrenic father. Life was spent walking on eggshells. Poor as poor. We had potatoes sometimes 3 times a day for months on end because that's all we could afford. That and powdered milk from the food bank. There were times in our life where my dad, partially because of his mental illness and partially because there was no money, he would go to the Goodwill and bring home garbage bags full of clothes, and then whatever was in those bags is what we would wear. One year I wore the same pair of shoes to school for 2 years in a row, and my dad duct taped them. I was the most popular kid in school that year, needless to say. From there, because of his mental illness, there was a series of events that happened that over the course, as time goes, I'll plan to give you some more stories about my life. If it were up to me, I would not be in front of a camera. I love people. I love their stories. I love traveling. I love meeting new people. Once I knew someone that said if you went to dinner with me and got up and went to the bathroom, when you came back, I'd have 10 new friends. Kind of a true statement, but putting myself in front of a camera is not my cup of tea. I will meet you, I will talk to you, I will spend all the time with you, but just to talk in this manner is not my comfort zone. But when you feel like you're called to do it, and when people keep telling you, you should share your stories, because there's a lot of people out there that feel like they're alone and they need to know that they're not. It's true. So here I am. I'll be sharing stories of everything from kids to just things that happened in my life and part of why I became who I am today and how I got here. From living in an abusive home, as I said, to becoming a mom when I was 16. I also lived on my own from the time I was 15, and that's a story in and of itself. I was married by 18. I had a child with a congenital anomaly that completely changed the trajectory of my life when I was 19. By the time I was 21, I was married and divorced and had 2 kids, one of them with a severe medical condition. Worked 2 and 3 jobs, put myself through nursing school. And not to say that I didn't have help. I had help. And again, we'll talk about that more as we go, but I had not a lot of help in some areas, and then other areas like you just can't do the things that I've done without having any help. But all of that has led me to where I am today, and those circumstances, I easily could have ended up in a completely different environment that I am. I grew up in at the time, it was the highest poverty, it was the highest teen pregnancy, it was the highest drug and alcohol use, it was the highest place for just everything bad, and the lowest rate for people getting out and doing well in life. There was a lot of violence. I was around a lot of violence when I was younger. Even though I look like this on the outside, my cousins are every color of the rainbow. And I grew up, yeah, like I said, in a lot of violence, a lot of situations, a lot of things that, there's people that have seen far worse things than I have, don't get me wrong, but a lot of things that I saw, a lot of things I've lived through, you should not see at such a young age. But the one thing that I've learned over the years is that you just have to learn to pivot. And if you don't, you can get stuck. Life is meant to look in the rearview mirror as a way of reflection. It's not a place where you continue to just stare in the rearview mirror, because if you stare there and you stay there too long, you're going to crash into the tree ahead of you, or brick wall, or whatever the case may be. But life is challenging, and as I've traveled around, I've met a lot of people through my profession and just in general that think that they're the only ones that are experiencing stuff. Women in particular often think they're the only ones in an abusive relationship. They're the only ones who have, experienced a miscarriage, and I'll speak to women mostly because, I am a woman, and also that's who I've worked with the most in my life. I have a daughter, I've had daughters-in-law, just lots of people that I've ran across. And so anyway, if you want to come along on the journeys with me and hear some of the stories that I have to tell, some of them are wild and crazy, some of them are funny, sad, humorous. I try to lighten everything with humor, because if you don't have humor in your life, when you go through the hard things, sitting in a corner and crying doesn't help. It may work for a short time, but eventually, like I said, you have to get up and you have to move. So if you'd like to come along, follow the journey, hear the stories, see the things, do all the things you're supposed to do, like, subscribe, and we will go on some adventures together.